Welcome back to 50-50 Day. We are championing gender equity and asking what it takes to get to 50-50. And right now we have Musimbi Kanyoro, the president and CEO of the Global Fund for Women, and it administers the largest endowment in the world dedicated to women's rights. She's a Kenyan human rights advocate, and she works on reproductive health and climate change and anything she wants to do. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on this show.
Oh, please, it's our pleasure. And so I wanted to start with one of the taglines that you have on the website for the Global Fund for Women, which is strong, safe, powerful, and heard. Things women need to be. Can you explain that?
Thank you very much. That's our vision, because our vision is a world in which every woman and girl is strong, is safe, is powerful, and is heard. And in our vision, we say no exception, because we believe that the lives of every woman matter, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, no matter what economic status that they have. Every life of a woman matters. So how do we make this important work that we believe in? How do we translate this important mission that we do? For ourselves at the Global Fund for Women, our choice is to do this through two very important strategies. One is we believe that women need resources to do their work, and therefore grant making is a very important aspect of our activism, of our human rights work. So we find and we fund courageous, bold women and their organizations who actually identify what is important to change in their community, and they are committed and willing to move it and make it happen. And so we fund and we support them. Many of these are grassroots women's organizations. And why grassroots? Because we believe when change comes from underneath, when change comes from those people that are most affected, when change comes from people who are going nowhere, they are rooted in those communities, that change is sustainable, and we have evidence for it. So we fund them to organize and to network with each other's movements and to be supportive, to support each other, and to create change that addresses things that might put them down, things such as norms, cultural norms, and beliefs about women. The second aspect of our work that is really important, we believe for change to happen, you do need to have advocacy work. And advocacy work means speak out, and speak up.
Yeah.
For people to do that, they need agency, they need their power. So a part of what we do in the Global Fund for Women is we amplify the voices of women who are actually doing the work on the ground so that their voices can be heard. And what do they speak about? They speak about what issues are important to them, the changes that they have made by themselves, and the hope that they have to sustain these changes. That's what we do as the Global Fund for Women.
Yeah. So when you speak to women around the world, which you do for your work, what are some of the things that come to mind for them? I'm sure there's many, but is it more economic, more about reproductive health, more about money? What do you hear maybe the most?
I think that question I could answer it differently. Let me just give you a couple of stories to illustrate it. We have been working, for example, on the question of girls' empowerment for a very long time, and we began by having a particular endowment for girls before people actually popularized that girls need to go to school. Mm-hmm. So the reason for that is that we had from our partners time and again that education, and specifically education for women and girls, has far much more outreaching opportunities than anything else, because it empowers the people themselves that are getting educated, the girls, and eventually the women, but it also spreads out over generations to the kids that they will give birth to, the systems that they will be part of as teachers, as caretakers, etc. So we have, over the last year, we have invested more than 1.5 million in grants to more than 100 women's organizations over 8 years. And through partnerships with these women's organizations, we have really made a change in how communities view the lives of women in education. So that's one category. But take the category of, there are three things that are always universally important to all women. It doesn't matter where they are. The economic empowerment or economic possibilities, putting food at the table. Let's put it as easy as that. The second one is their bodies, to be safe, to be secure, to manage their bodies, where the sexual reproductive health and rights comes them. And it's really important to take both of them at the same time, because it's health, healthy bodies, and healthy bodies come in many different ways. When girls don't get married too early, they are more likely to be healthier than if they got married too early. When women have access to contraceptives to manage their spacing of their children, they are healthier, etc. And then rights, the ability to choose when to marry, who to have children with, whether to have children or not. The ability to choose one's own sexuality, sexual reproductive health and rights is really important. And we hear women all over say their bodies, as much as they are the blessing of being who we are, carrying us along, they are always our danger as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of violence is aimed at women's bodies, sexual violence and bodily harm to women from many different angles, whether it's female circumcision, whether it's early childhood marriage, whether it's the violence, battering, psychological violence. These are things that harm women. And the other one that is really important is also ensuring that women have some food on the table, protection from violence. And then another one that we have found really important is the ability for women to participate, to have their voice heard. That is really important. And that's universal as well. We work across all of these areas as the Global Fund, and we do grant making in all of those areas. And today we have made grants over $130 million to more than 500 organizations. And we have a footprint in about 175 countries over the lifespan of the Global Fund for Women. And we do that because we have partners in those countries. It's not because we can raise this money. It's because we are only supporting really courageous and bold women who are standing up for what they see as needs to happen, their rights to be human and to participate in the communities in which they live.
Yeah, it's phenomenal work, and you're also engaged in, and I'll just leave it here with a final question for you. You're also engaged in work on climate change, which, you know, it's obviously affecting everyone, not just men or women, but how did you decide that with everything else that you've taken on has to be a part of the work you do now?
Actually, even before this was named as climate change, and we may not have known that we were doing climate change, we have always seen that when there are natural disasters, when there's drought, there's flood, there's the deforestation, desertification, etc., all the things that have resulted out of climate change or environmental destruction, that women are very disadvantaged. And so we've always been with those women that have supported those causes to keep oceans clean, to ensure that food production in agriculture is possible, but sometimes they can't do it because there are droughts. So we have always done some funding there, but we become much more clear in articulating the after effects of climate change because we see how many women are affected. So for example, in the days and weeks that followed during the Nepal earthquake disaster, it became clear that 8 million people were affected, or nearly a quarter of the country's population. And because we were connected to women there, the women leaders in that country that were our partners assessed the problems quite quickly. And they saw the gaps in regards to gender issues. We're talking about gender issues. And the gaps included women as providers of food to their families, can't do it. the vulnerability of women during such time to be trafficked, the vulnerability of women to be sexually abused. These things happen differently in different places. We saw it in Haiti as well. So what we did for the Nepal case and even for the Haiti was quickly to get into the Global Fund community and raised over $700,000 that supported these women's groups. And we don't just do it there alone. We continue after everybody's folded up to make sure that they can be sustainable and continue to work to rebuild their own lives. This is part of the climate change. And anybody today who would have any argument that this credits climate change, I think is just not out of this world. We endorse the Paris Agreement. And so after the Paris Agreement, we have felt that we needed to really strengthen the work that women are doing to leverage their resources in order to adapt better when there are climate change effects. But much more important, even to use protective methods that will help the future communities to have something better than what we have or where we seem to be going today.
Well, Musimbi Kanyoro, thank you so much. It's a sign that all struggles are connected and that equality requires that we engage with the world. And as the head of Global Fund for Women, you do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.